into tonight. Sean, how's it going?
It's good. I'm sitting in Hal's chair. It's a lot taller than normal, and I had to pull the microphone down to reach my mouth instead of his. So a little bit of an adjustment.
Well, I'm getting to speak into the microphone that Pete Weber was using, so I feel pretty special.
That is very special.
Today on the show, we are breaking down what we've seen at training camp and in the preseason so far. We are also going to hear from Spencer Stastny, who I talked to at practice last week. We're going to talk about the Nashville Predators' power play. Sean, the power play?
Yeah.
Namely, who is in charge of the power play?
Question of the day.
What will it look like? What's it gonna look like on the ice? What can we expect there? And then, of course, we'll have some opening night roster predictions, and then we will conclude with the 3-on-3 draft back in action for the second week.
Can't wait.
But we got to start today with a puck drop topic, and that topic today is: which player has impressed you the most through the first 2 weeks of training camp? So there's been, 50 players coming in and out, and some of them we've only seen a little bit of, some of them we've seen a lot of, some of them we just saw. A couple guys just got here. So, Sean, I'm going to actually go to you first.
Okay.
Which player has impressed you the most through the first 2 weeks of training camp?
Okay, now this is not going to come as a big surprise coming from me, but I will say player that's impressed me the most in training camp is Tommy Novak. Novak is someone who, we saw come up, make a little bit of a splash, and then disappear for a while a couple seasons ago, and then come in and have a bigger impact last season. And the question for me is, you're kind of looking going into this camp as, who's going to play center on the second line. You've got Glass, who was very impressive last year. Glass really made a name for himself. I think he was a good storyline, and a lot of people really like talking about Glass. But I feel like Novak's come into camp and has kind of established himself as the likely second-line center. And so I see what he's done. He's got good control on the ice. He makes things happen when he needs to, and I think that's what the Preds are going to look at as far as getting a center on that second line when the puck drops on the first game of the season.
Yeah, I like that option. Novak is impressive. He's definitely he's picked up right where he left off.
Yeah,
I mean, he was such a huge part of that team last year, and he had a lot of momentum going into the season. It's good to see that he has continued that. He hasn't dropped anything. I'm going to go with someone who I don't think had a ton of momentum last year, and really over the last couple years has lacked momentum, has been kind of stagnant in his development, and that would be Dante Fabro. Dante Fabro, to me, has stood out more than probably any other defenseman, save for the usual. Roman Josi is always impressive. McDonough does what he does. Tyson Barrie looks good. But Dante Fabro, to me, so far in his first 2 weeks of this season, it's not even really started yet, has looked every bit the guy that we thought he would be. He looks aggressive. He looks fast. He looks decisive. He's made, just in practice today, I kept noticing him in these breakout drills that they were doing just on the defensive end. So the breakout drills are two-way, right? The forwards are trying to create, the defenders are trying to stop. He was shutting down people. I mean, he was making great moves. He looked great. So Dante Fabro, to me, has impressed. He's on the 1-year deal. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with that defensive core, which we will talk about as we go on. But with Dante Fabro on a 1-year deal and possibly more, who knows? He's an RFA this next summer. Don't know where he's going to end up, but he looks good so far. I like where he's headed.
I agree. I would say he would be next on my list as well. And I think development-wise, you've had to watch him develop at the NHL level. He's not been a guy that spent time in the AHL.
That's a good point.
His debut at the NHL level, and that's where he's been ever since. So good to see that he's making some strides, and I think he's always been a good puck mover. So I think you add in that physical piece, like you were talking about, you got something good there.
So, actually, I'm looking at this, and I realize we're going to be talking about the defense a lot today. I mean, this is going to be a big defensive focused show today, and one of the things I wanted to bring up is something I wrote about at penaltyboxradio.com. You can go check it out, and that has to do with Luke Schenn. And I wanted to get your take on this. I know I think you probably read what I wrote, and maybe you have an insight on from your perspective on this. But we have been kind of since Barry Trotz signed Luke Schenn, on July 1st, and those comments that he made July 2nd, where he's talking about Ryan O'Reilly and Gustav Nyquist and Luke Shin, of course. We heard from him about why he made those signings, and a lot of it had to do with culture. A lot of it had to do with getting guys in here who want to win, getting guys who want to not just be in Nashville. What was the comment he made that was kind of
he wants guys that want to win in Nashville, not retire in Nashville.
Yeah, CC Matt Duchene.
Whoa.
And so Luke Shin was signing, but the big thing that he said about Luke Shin that was interesting was that he wanted Luke Shin to be a guy that could absorb some of the attention that Roman Josi had been getting, and about how he didn't like how many hits were Roman Josi, how many hits were directed at Roman Josi, and obviously he's got a concussion history that they have to protect. He's a highly paid player. He's a very, very good player. So Luke Shin comes in as that guy, and initially people thought, okay, well, what does that mean? Is he going to be paired with Roman Josi all year? Is he going to be enforcing things? I mean, what's that role really going to look like? And in practice, and in training camp, I guess I should say, and in the preseason, it does look like Luke Shin is going to pair with Roman Josi. But here's the issue that I think they're going to run into. Luke Shin has averaged over the last 5 years about 15 minutes a game. Now, he had about 16 minutes last year with Vancouver and Toronto, but the minutes went down significantly when he went to Toronto because they didn't need him to play as big of a role. Right. In Vancouver, he was like one of the top guys. Typically, Roman Josi's defensive partners are playing 20 minutes. I mean, sometimes more. I mean, Ryan Ellis was a 23-minute-a-night guy. Luke Shin is not Ryan Ellis. They're not even really comparable in terms of skill. But do they expect Luke Shin to increase his playing time by a huge amount, by 4 or 5 minutes a night in order to make that happen? I mean, is that really what they expect to happen? That's kind of the idea of what I was trying to communicate.
So I guess a couple of things here. And one of the biggest ones is you got to look at, okay, how much of that time is Josi spending on the power play and things like that? Is it possible that you're going to have Shin not playing on the power play, therefore not taking some of those minutes? Will he be maybe spending more time on the penalty kill or something like that? I'm not really sure how that's going to play out. But I guess the thing is, there's been – if we look back at last season, I wrote an article where I kind of investigated Kevin Lankinen. And the question was, why was Lankinen doing so well as a backup for the Predators? Because if you look back at his time with the Chicago Blackhawks, things weren't going so well for Lankinen. And it was interesting how a lot of people were very quick to point out that, well, the Predators are playing better defense in front of Lankinen than the Blackhawks were. But when we looked at the numbers, you actually saw that the Blackhawks had been playing better defense in front of Kevin Lankinen. And the only real explanation we could come up with was that what was helping Lankinen was that he wasn't an every night starter. Mm-hmm. So, the adjustment on times there can be a big thing. Is it possible that the reverse is true here and that maybe more time, especially more time with Roman Josi, makes you a better player?
Yeah.
Does it make you a better defender? Do you have a skill set that you can exploit a little bit differently when you have someone like Roman Josi as your partner?
Yeah. The other thing that I find interesting and I'm kind of curious about is, all right, so if they want to protect Roman Josi from taking hits, that's great. I think that's a good idea. But I think the hits that he's going to take are going to be in the offensive end because that's where hits usually happen. I mean, he of course he's going to he gets physical in the defensive zone as well. He gives hits in those areas. But most of the hits he's going to take are going to be receive, are going to be other defensemen, other forwards trying to knock him off the puck when he has it. That's what hits mean. And that's going to be tricky because what's Luke Shin's role in that? I mean, he's not the one that's going to be carrying the puck up the ice. So it's just, I mean, I think the idea is good. Is a good one. Barry's kind of idea of, oh well, we're gonna protect Roman Josi by getting Luke Shin. That's a good idea. In practice, does it work? I don't know. We'll see. And also, I think there's a possibility that Shin's time on ice is not going to be that much different than what he was last year. It's just that Josi gets so many minutes because he's just always out there.
Right.
And he plays on the power play, and he plays on the penalty kill. He gets all these other minutes in other ways. Shin's not going to do that. Shin will play on the penalty kill, I think,
sure,
along with McDonough. But, yeah, so I think that's a big thing that we have to consider. Coming up after the break, we are going to hear from speaking of defensemen, We're going to hear from one Predators defenseman who has a very bright future, and also he's got a little take on college football. So we're going to hear from that player in a little bit. Before we do, though, Nashville. If you're looking to buy or sell or invest in real estate, you got to look no further than Salas Realty Group. Salas, not just about property, they are about people. They build long-lasting relationships that are all about you, your needs, and your dreams. Salas Realty Group stands for trust, transparency, and community. They're committed to making a positive impact in Middle Tennessee, one home at a time. If you're ready to make a move, visit salasrealtygroup.com today and experience real estate the Salas way.
The Electronic Express 40th anniversary sale is going on now. Help us celebrate 40 years of service and save up to 40% throughout the entire store. This week, get a Hisense 65-inch 4K TV for only $399, or a stainless steel refrigerator only $499. Plus, get up to 60 months special financing on items like a top-load laundry pair, only $349 each, or an LG touchscreen laptop, just $799. Shop our 40th anniversary sale. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
We gather together in communities across the nation to remember and honor, to celebrate and support, to light the night. We are LLS, and when we walk, cancer runs. Find your local event at lightthenight.org.
When Smashville wants to rock,